The Curse of Tutankhamun, Myth versus Reality. In 1922, the world held its breath as Howard Carter unearthed the tomb of Tutankhamun. It was an archaeological triumph, a window into a glorious past. But from this moment of discovery, a darker narrative began to weave itself: the curse of the pharaohs. The curse spoke of vengeful spirits, of ancient powers disturbed. It painted a picture of doom for those who dared to violate the sanctity of the pharaoh's resting place. How did this myth take root alongside such a monumental achievement? The press seized upon the story, fueling the flames of fear and fascination. Sensational headlines screamed of impending doom, of a price to be paid for disturbing the dead. The public, already captivated by the occult and ancient mysteries, eagerly devoured these tales. The narrative of vengeful spirits resonated deeply. It spoke to a primal fear of the unknown, of the consequences of disrespecting powers beyond our comprehension. The idea of a curse lying dormant for millennia, waiting to be unleashed, was irresistible. Lord Carnarvon, the wealthy benefactor who funded Carter's expedition, became the curse's first victim. His death, just months after the tomb's opening, sent shockwaves around the world. The cause? An infected mosquito bite. But the mundane reality of a simple infection was quickly overshadowed by the allure of the supernatural. The timing was too perfect, the coincidence too striking. The curse had claimed its first victim. Adding to the drama, reports circulated of a power outage in Cairo at the exact moment of Carnarvon's death. These details, however embellished, cemented the connection between the tomb and tragedy. The legend was born. The flickering candlelight danced across the walls of the claustrophobic tomb. Glimmering gold artifacts reflected the light, hinting at the riches and power within. An ominous silence hung in the air, broken only by the creaking of ancient wood. The initial excitement of discovery slowly morphed into a sense of dread. The weight of history, the unknown dangers lurking in the shadows, began to take their toll. The atmosphere was ripe for the birth of a curse. Dramatic headlines screamed from the front pages: "King Tut's curse strikes. Death comes to the tomb raiders." The newspapers amplified the public's growing fear, solidifying the belief in the curse. Each new tragedy, each illness or misfortune that befell those connected to the excavation was attributed to the pharaoh's wrath. The macabre narrative gained momentum, fueled by speculation and fear. The curse became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Horror movies have long exploited the fear of ancient curses and vengeful spirits. These cinematic portrayals, while entertaining, often blur the line between fact and fiction. They amplify the fantastical elements, overshadowing the more grounded explanations. By showcasing these exaggerated depictions, we can better understand the power of imagination in shaping our beliefs. The Curse of Tutankhamun, in many ways, is a product of our own fears and desires. It's a story we tell ourselves, a way to make sense of the unknown. But what if the reality is far less supernatural? What if the deaths and illnesses associated with the tomb can be explained by science? The truth, as it often does, is far more complex and fascinating than the myth. The sealed tomb, undisturbed for over 3,000 years, was a breeding ground for microorganisms. Mold, bacteria, and fungi thrived in the humid, oxygen-poor atmosphere. These unseen dangers posed a significant threat to those who entered. Exposure to these pathogens could lead to a range of health problems. Respiratory infections, allergic reactions, and other illnesses were common among the excavators. The air itself was a potential weapon, a silent killer lurking within the tomb. The health problems experienced by the team were not necessarily the result of a curse, but rather the consequence of working in a highly contaminated environment. The risks were real, even if the explanation was less sensational. In addition to microorganisms, the tomb may have contained toxic substances released from decaying organic materials. Ancient paints, embalming fluids, and other materials could have contributed to the health problems of the excavators. The air was thick with unseen dangers. The inherent risks associated with working in such an environment were significant. Without proper protective equipment and knowledge of the potential hazards, the excavators were vulnerable to a range of health problems. The curse, in this light, seems less mystical and more like a consequence of ignorance. The curse was likely a combination of factors rather than a single supernatural force. Pre-existing health conditions, exposure to harmful microorganisms, and a poorly ventilated environment all played a role. The individuals involved were not immune to the dangers of the natural world. The curse became a convenient, albeit inaccurate, explanation for a series of unfortunate events. It allowed people to attribute the deaths and illnesses to a supernatural cause, rather than confronting the more complex and uncomfortable reality. The myth was easier to believe than the science. The story of the curse of Tutankhamun is a testament to the power of human imagination. It demonstrates our ability to create narratives that explain the unknown, even when those narratives are based on fear and speculation. The allure of the curse continues to fascinate us. But the scientific reality reminds us of the natural world's own mysteries. The tomb of Tutankhamun held not only treasures and historical artifacts, but also a hidden ecosystem of microorganisms and toxic substances. The true story is far more complex and compelling than the myth. The curse may not be real, but the dangers faced by the excavators were very real indeed. Let us remember their story not as a tale of supernatural vengeance, but as a reminder of the power and complexity of the natural world. The legacy of Tutankhamun is not a curse, but a challenge to understand the mysteries that still lie hidden beneath the sands of time.